For the first time, Subaru surpassed Toyota and Lexus in the Consumer Reports Annual Auto Reliability Survey for 2025, which is an insane feat by itself. After all, we all know that Toyota and Lexus have been class leaders when it comes to making ultra-dependable cars, so the mere fact that Subaru overtook them is just one for the books. Hello everyone, this is Scott from CarlandTV. It's time to get in the front seat. As today, you are about to see the most reliable Subaru cars that allow the brand to beat Toyota and Lexus. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up, and let's get back to the video. (2025) Subaru Solterra. Let's start this list with Solterra. I think it's obvious by now that I've always been a Subaru guy, so when the Solterra dropped, I was pretty curious to see how they'd handle their first fully electric SUV. Gotta say, they didn't disappoint. The Solterra is a solid piece of engineering, especially for folks who want the ruggedness of a Subaru without giving up on going green. It really has that classic Subaru vibe. It is tough, reliable, and ready to take on whatever terrain you throw at it. The heart of this thing is the 72.8 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery pack, which can cover about 222 miles on a full charge, give or take, depending on the trim. That's respectable for an electric SUV, especially considering it's still using the full-time symmetrical all-wheel drive system. No part-time nonsense here. It's always engaged, giving the ride the solid traction it needs, whether you're traversing on snow, mud, or just cruising down the highway. Plus, it's paired with X mode and grip control, so when things get slippery or rough, you're still gripping the trail like a champ. One thing that really stands out is how smooth the ride is. Up front, you've got McPherson struts, and in the back, it got a double wishbone setup. That combo keeps it feeling planted and comfortable, even when the road gets bumpy or you're taking corners. It's definitely not mushy, but at the same time, it is also not bone-jarring like some SUVs can be. Subaru clearly put some thought into making it a well-balanced ride, which I really appreciate when I'm hauling the family around or heading out for some off-the-grid camping. Safety is on point, as always with Subaru. You've got the EyeSight Driver Assist suite as standard, which means adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, pre-collision braking, and more. It's reassuring to have all that tech working quietly in the background, keeping you and your passengers safe without being too intrusive. One of my favorite features has to be the advanced adaptive cruise control with lane centering. It just makes highway driving way less stressful, especially on longer trips. Now, one thing worth mentioning is that some owners of the Toyota BZ4X, which shares a lot with the Solterra, reported issues with charging speed in colder climates. Subaru has apparently worked on tweaking the thermal management system to address that, but it's something to keep an eye on if you live somewhere that gets seriously cold. Other than that, though, the reliability seems to be right in line with what you'd expect from Subaru. It is rock solid and dependable. 2025 Subaru Ascent. I gotta say, the Subaru Ascent has really stepped up its game lately. I've owned a Forester before, and don't get me wrong, that thing was rock solid and perfect for smaller families or couples who like to hit the trails. But when I needed more space and muscle without giving up that signature Subaru reliability, the Ascent was the obvious choice. It's built for bigger families or folks who just need that extra room and power, while still holding on to what makes Subarus great. It's durable, safe, and can navigate through all weather. So whether you're cruising through the city or loading it up for a mountain getaway, the Ascent feels just as capable and confident as the Forester, but it has a whole lot more room to stretch out. One of the biggest reasons I trust this rig is the 2.4-liter turbocharged Subaru Boxer engine. It cranks out 260 ponies and 277 pound-foot of torque, which means it has plenty of punch whether you're merging onto the highway or towing some gear. The flat-4 design keeps the center of gravity low, which makes it feel more planted on winding roads and helps with stability. Plus, its horizontally opposed layout naturally cancels out vibrations, so it doesn't make you feel like you're riding in a rattlebox. Subaru didn't cut corners on durability either. The Ascent's body is made from high-strength steel, which keeps it tough but minus the excessive weight. That makes it safer in a crash, and also means it handles better because the frame doesn't flex all over the place. Add in the four-wheel independent suspension, and it just eats up bumps without feeling too squishy. Up front of this SUV is its McPherson struts, and in the rear, the double wishbone setup. This is pretty much the perfect combo for soaking up rough roads while still feeling tight and responsive. Now, the symmetrical all-wheel drive is one of the things that makes the Ascent reliable. It's a full-time AWD, so it's always on the ball, ready to grip the road when the paths start to get slick. The X-Mode and hill descent control just take that confidence to another level. X-Mode tweaks the engine output and transmission to give me better traction when the going gets rough, while hill descent control keeps my speed in check when I'm crawling down a steep, slippery trail. 2025 Subaru Outback. The 2025 Subaru Outback just nails it when it comes to reliability. It has been like that for many years, and its 2025 model is no exception. I mean, I've driven a few different models over the years, but this one stands out because of how well-built and dependable it feels. One of the biggest factors for its reliability is the classic Subaru Boxer engine under its hood. You are getting two options here. One is the standard 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine that makes 182 horsepower, and the other is the more powerful 2.4-liter turbocharged version that cranks out 260 horses and 277 pound-foot of torque. The horizontally opposed layout is also there too. It gives the engine a lower center of gravity compared to inline or V-shaped engines, so it handles better and feels more stable. Plus, it helps reduce vibrations, which means a smoother ride even on longer trips, but the engine's just one part of the equation. Similar to other SUVs in this video, the Outback got Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system as a standard feature, and it guarantees sufficient grip and control. It's not like some other AWD systems that just kick in when the car thinks you need it. This one is Subaru is always on, distributing power evenly to all four wheels. That means you're getting consistent traction, whether it's raining, snowing, or you're tackling some dirt trails. And if you're the kind of person who likes to take the road less traveled, the X-Mode with hill descent control comes in extra handy. The X-Mode optimizes the engine output and transmission ratio while enhancing the AWD engagement, so you get the most traction possible. Meanwhile, the hill descent control keeps your speed in check when you're creeping down a steep slope, so you're not riding the brakes the whole way down. This makes sense when navigating rough or slippery terrain, as it removes the feeling like you're fighting the car. The chassis is another area where Subaru did it right. They used high-strength steel to make it rigid, but not too heavy, which means it's durable while still keeping the overall weight manageable. A rigid frame also means better handling and a more stable ride since the structure doesn't flex as much under stress. Combine that with the four-wheel independent suspension and stabilizer bars at both the front and rear, and you've got a ride that stays smooth and controlled even when the road gets sketchy. It doesn't yield that wallowy, floaty feeling of some SUVs due to their soft suspensions. 2025 Subaru Forester. Consumer Reports is pretty much consistent in giving high scores to the Subaru Forester for its reliability. So by all means, it's close to certain that this ride won't falter. It can get from point A to point B, no matter the road or weather conditions. Plus, it's built to be downright practical for everyday life and weekend adventures alike. Of course, what makes the 2025 Forester so solid is that it's built in the Subaru global platform. Basically, this has an enhanced structural rigidity and crash safety, which means that it can actually take a hit. That also translates to improved handling and ride comfort, so it just feels secure and stable when you're behind the wheel. This thing is equipped with a 2.5-liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine that pushes 180 horsepower for its base model. That horizontally opposed setup is classic Subaru. It keeps the center of gravity low, which adds to its superb handling and cornering without feeling top-heavy. Moreover, it reduces vibrations, so the ride is smooth and less fatiguing on long trips. Of course, the symmetrical all-wheel drive system remains the star of the show. It's designed to distribute power evenly to all four wheels, giving the SUV impeccably solid traction, whether you're up against rain, snow, or some gnarly trails. This system just makes me feel more in control, and it doesn't put as much stress on individual components, so there's less maintenance to worry about in the long run. Safety is another area where the Forester shines. It comes standard with Subaru's EyeSight driver assist technology, which includes some of the essentials such as adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, and pre-collision braking. These features actively monitor the road and can step in to help avoid accidents if something unexpected happens. 2025 Subaru Crosstrek. I gotta say the 2025 Subaru Crosstrek is one of those SUVs I can really count on. Plain and simple. As I've said, Subaru has always been known for building dependable rides, and the Crosstrek is the living proof of that. Right from the get-go, the big thing that makes it so solid is the symmetrical all-wheel drive system. It's not just there to impress, it's actually designed to send power to all four wheels evenly, which means I get way better traction and stability, whether I'm cruising down the highway or hitting some sketchy back roads. Plus, it cuts down on uneven tire wear and doesn't put as much stress on the drivetrain, so I'm looking at less maintenance in the long run. When you pop the hood, you will either have the following engines. Their first one is the base 2.0-liter Boxer 4-cylinder that cranks out 152 horsepower and 145 pound-foot of torque, and the optional unit is the beefier 2.5-liter Boxer with 182 horsepower and 178 pound-foot of torque. Both of them use that classic horizontally opposed setup, which keeps the center of gravity low and gives the SUV better handling and stability. It also cuts down on vibration, which not only feels smoother but means less wear over time. Subaru didn't skimp on the build quality here. These engines are made with solid, durable materials that are built to take a beating and keep running strong. The suspension on this thing is hands down impressive. It soaks up bumps effectively, which in turn should prevent you from feeling every crack in the road. That makes the ride way smoother, while also putting less strain on the chassis and components, so stuff doesn't start rattling apart over time. And since it's designed to handle rough terrain, the Crosstrek has a ground clearance of 8.7 inches, and if you go with its higher wilderness trim, the ground clearance increases a little more at 9.3 inches. That extra height is perfect if I'm doing any off-roading or dealing with nasty weather. And I gotta give it to Subaru for the build quality on the body itself. They use high-strength steel to make sure it holds up in a crash and stays structurally sound for the long haul. It also means the frame doesn't flex as much, which keeps everything tight and reduces wear over time. So yeah, the Crosstrek is no fragile little kid.